All right, guys. Today we're gonna recap 7:30 NQ. So right off the open, this is my chart now. Like I said in the last video, I like using the percents because for me it's more easier to read. And Glitch added this new feature called Gamma VWAP, which I'm still experimenting with, but it's been playing out pretty well alignment with nodes. So that's something cool that I'm still playing around with. It does look messy on my chart as of right now, but normally on when I have it up, it's not really that cluttered. But we got, so right off of open, SPX had no nodes, and SPY QQQ had these small positive gamma nodes. Now the 735, 735 here on SPY was pretty strong, and I didn't take longs on open until QQQ got above 575. Now the reason for that was because this was the king node, and honestly we had this divergence where SPY was bouncing this floor and QQQ was resisting the ceiling. So I wasn't interested in longs until QQQ got above and then finally retested at 575. So 575 ended up losing value actually when I longed it. And I ended up taking longs from this like right at VWAP. So this was kind of like a more of kind of like a continuation trade from VWAP. Honestly, I don't remember my entry, but I took this up to, I believe, not that high. I didn't take this all the way up to previous day high, which probably would have been smart if I did. I took this up to SPX King Node at 7400. So 948 was when I got out. So I probably only took like 100 points on this. So I didn't really take like much on this trade in general, but it is what it is. I'm not going to complain too much about it. Now, later in the day, we ended up getting to the IB. We set the high and we rejected the IB. We couldn't break out from the high. And we held above previous day high, continued up to the weekly low. Now, when we were at the weekly low, if you guys remember on stages, me and Jack were talking about shorts. And the main reason for the shorts at high, what was previously high a day, at like this 10:30, 10:35 candle here, what we saw come over on SPY and QQQ. QQQ had the 684 node chilling up here. Technically, price is still tapping that node. It's just missing it by 30 cents. SPY, this was pretty much like a small little double top right here from high of day on these nodes up here. So it was rejection of the high of day and the 739 node here on SPY. So we shorted this back down. We had downside targets, and SPX still had this upside king node, but it ended up fading off, which was better in our favor. Whenever you're in a short, you ideally want to see upside targets shrinking, and you want to see downside targets growing. So this was a nice little flush we got. This is what we were talking about on stages. Now, in relation to my TP on this trade, when I shorted it, my entry was like around here at the weekly low. Typically, I like my stop at the high or around like a 20-point stop. So once I entered this trade, I'm like, my stop was ideally 20 points here, and my take profit was at 28K. If you guys remember, if you watched the last video, what did I say about this 28K level? This is going to be a strong level of support because it's a psych level. So this ran, I ended up getting trailed out over here, like around this fib level, just because we ended up catching a bounce at 11. And if I'm correct, we had some positive nodes that could have been worrisome. So it wasn't something I was playing around with. And there wasn't any nodes actually, except for the SPY node, but I ended up did gain stopped out here. Now I want to go over this long I took all the way back up, because this was kind of like this was a nice structural long. So like I just said about the 28K level, we know this level's strong support. It's a psych level. Now I need to see alignment with heat seeker to confirm if I want to long this or not. So once I took the long, we were at a SPY floor, and we were also at a QQQ floor. Now, what makes this trade very important, if I come over to my ES chart, look at ES for today, what do we notice about ES, SPX, and then SPY? You see the IB low, we're unable to break the low. We have a double bottom, triple bottom, quad bottom. This low is unable to break. It's holding a strong support. Look at the double bottom here on SPY and on SPX. I mentioned this on the stages. I was saying there's a double bottom here on SPY and SPX. And I didn't take the long yet until QQQ got to the 28K level. So although we were bouncing this, I was waiting for like a small divergence. Although this level was holding and we did run up and break the highs on ES because we didn't get a break on either side yet. So we finally broke out to the upside. You could have honestly probably targeted that previous day high as your final TP, but I can't stay in a trade that long, me personally. I'm not going to just watch a trade sit there and just run the whole day. Now, when I took this trade, my risk factor was that, okay, I'm in around like 28 and my stop is below the 50% fib. Now, the reason for this was because the 50% fib is going to be a nice support level for me. So if price does dip below, I'm going to expect a bounce at least by the 50% fib. If not, I'm stopped out. It's a losing trade. My thesis was wrong, and it is what it is. So this long ran pretty nicely. We held above VWAP, which is more confirmation for me to hold my trade. I ended up getting trailed out. I can't give you exact timestamps because honestly, I don't remember exactly when I got stopped out. But if you do remember, I was talking about that NQ was above VWAP, and well, this is a session VWAP, and we held above, which was pretty good confirmation to go higher. And once we got to the IB high, I'm pretty sure this is where I got trailed out, just because ideally once we got that break, I'm expecting on ES for the break as well, because ideally it would have been a at 11 or at 12:10. This would have been another double top on SPY. So if you look over here, when we reversed, right, it was a double top on SPY and on SPX again. So this ended up being another double top, and it's not something I'm going to want to sit in because if ES is topping out, then what's NQ going to do? NQ topped out and came all the way back down to VWAP again. So that is what happened over here at, let me check the time again, 12:10. Now, if I look at the charts, I didn't short this, but you had the SPY positive, and then you had the small overshoot here on Qs with the double top here on SPY right on this candle. If we see it right here, this was the double top right here. So double top here on SPY, and the same applies on SPX over there. So we had that, and you could have shorted it with the double top and the SPY and the QQQ nodes, but not something I shorted or not something I really liked. Then we came back down to VWAP, got above the previous day high, and just ran throughout the session. We chopped around, bounced around the IB high, just held above, and we ended up running finally to the weekly low, which is going to be my last target. Now, I want to give some analysis on how I predicted the high of day today. Most of you guys saw on stages today, or even in futures chat, I said I'm looking for NQ shorts at, if I remember correctly, where is it at? I'm trying to find a text message real quick in chat. So this is what I said. I'm watching 298 on NQ for shorts because of the SPX King node. And you could, like, I would recommend watching back the live stages because I explained it at like 12, or I can't really give you an exact time. So 298, if I mark out 298, what level was this? This was top tick high of day at 298 right there, where I was looking for NQ shorts. And how did I predict this now? Now, if we look over to the Trinity, over here at 1. So SPX kept reshuffling this nodes from 7400 and 7430. Now, I'm going to want to see these nodes starting to align across the board for me to possibly short. So once I see, okay, the 7430 aligns with 742 and 684. The 684 node is small, but the 685 node is stronger. Now, I try to predict, like, this was the guess that I made, that SPY's nodes were going to roll up to 739. If you remember, I said floors are going to roll up. Floor on QQQ is going to roll up to 681. And what ends up happening, if we move over, these floors, small Pika stack here, rolled up on QQQ. SPY to 737 is chilling here. 739 is now the next strongest node on the board. And we see 89%, and then boom. King node on SPY rolls up. And now we want QQQ to roll up to 681, which would prevent the downside. And this is where we chopped throughout the day, where me and Jewel were just messing around on the stages because there wasn't much to talk about. Now, boom, 681 comes into play. We have this rug on QQQ. We have 739 here. If we got the retest, could have possibly played longs off of that. And now we have the 7440 on SPX. Now, what am I looking at? How did I know NQ was going to top out at this high? If I look over on the board, now I see, okay, 685, this has a higher probability becoming the king node over 684. And why is that? Because it's negative 61%. That node is pretty strong. If it grows, that could align with the SPY 743, and an SPX ceiling could roll up to 7445, giving us more room to come up. Now, what do we see? We see over here at high of day, and QQQ is already up 3.5% on the day. So what am I thinking to myself? Okay, my thesis was right. I said on the stage is 685. Okay, this was QQQ's ceiling. I believe QQQ is going to top out here at 685. Now 743 here on SPY has this dark pool. So I have more conviction on this short now with the SPY dark pool. SPX is at his king node. Now if 7445 holds as a ceiling with 685, that's 2 out of 3 node confluence for a short. Now when I converted 685 to NQ, this is the level, or this was the level I got, which was 298, which is what I shorted. So when I shorted that 298 trade, I took it all the way back down to the weekly low because that was the next level I had. So I took it from level to level, and a trade that went 0 in drawdown ran over 85 points. I had a 10-point stop on this trade, so I pretty much took a 1 to 8 risk to reward trade. Now, we look over here. What am I looking at? So this is what I was explaining that's very important when reading the Trinity on stages. So SPY has air pockets down to 739. QQQ has air pockets down to 681. This looks like good risk to reward for me for a flush. The only thing is SPX, these king nodes, were stuck in this strong positive where the 7440 could hold price up. And that's why I had such a short TP, just because I was kind of expecting that SPX might hold up price towards the end of the day. So we skip over. This is where I take the shorts. This is where I was talking about in stages where I was shorting on NQ. I gave my call, and I said where my TP was going to be at that weekly low, just because this was the next level I had. And honestly, SPX, even with these air pockets, I had belief that this could flush, but 7440 was so strong that it didn't hold. Now, if you remember correctly, for mock lotto, we ended up taking shorts as well, which was pretty short-lived, but still I took like 30% on it. It is what it is. That node ended up flipping, and then the 7435 held. Full TP hit on NQ. Now, literally once we got to that level, we got an immediately bounce and continued higher from there. But that's pretty much how I framed every trade today and how I used it. I didn't really use much fib levels. I used more the actual structural levels with Atlas. And that's mainly how I framed all my trades. That's how I played the 28k level for longs, which aligned with Skylit Atlas. And that's how I also played that short from 298, which was my prediction that the QQQ King node was going to roll up and use a resistance, and they were going to short price down and aligned with the SPX King node. So that's how I was able to kind of guesstimate and guess where NQ could reverse from, and I ended up being right. So that's how I used it today. Something I also do want to point out in ES, which was pretty important when you're looking at the IBs, was on ES, look at this floor that held at the IB low. First tap, or this was when the IB was set. Then we got the low being put in, testing the low again, and unable to break the low. Now, look on ES chart, right? We know IB normally breaks out to one direction. If we didn't break out to the upside, we failed to break. This held as a ceiling. We got an exhaustion to move back down. And then we got a bounce, which this was around the 28k level. On ES, I could have held this trade knowing that ES is going to need to break out to the IB high. That is probably going to break out. And what ends up happening, ES does end up breaking out. And it doesn't get the previous day high all the way up here, but it does end up breaking out and just running. So ES rejecting the lows with that NQ 28k level, bouncing and bouncing. We continued higher, got above VWAP, continued again, even at the weekly low too, got above the other session VWAP, continued higher, and just ran and ran towards the end of the day. So we could have used this confluence with both ES and NQ with this ES floor and then the NQ floor in 28K, and combining the two together, having ultimate confluence. So do let me know if you have any questions, DMs. Like, my DMs are always open. Don't feel afraid to ask anything. I'm just here to help everyone. See y'all.